Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's The Hindu News Analysis. Myself Nitin K. Biju. I have cleared the Civil Service Mains and Indian Forest Service Mains this year. I have attended the Indian Forest Service interview and I am awaiting to attend the Civil Service interview this year. In today's video, we will be discussing about the important articles of the Hindu newspaper, which are post-lockdown, India's infection rate has slowed down, and three other articles. Along with these news articles, we'll be also covering the prelims topics which are related to these news articles. Coming to the first article. Post-lockdown, India's infection growth rate has slowed down. Here, the health ministry is coming up with some interesting statistics regarding the lockdown, the results of the lockdown. This can be used for mains answer writing. So, the Union Health Ministry on Friday said the doubling rate of positive COVID 19 cases was now down to 6.2 days compared to 3 before the nationwide lockdown began on March 25th. So, here the Health Ministry is saying that earlier the COVID cases, the positive COVID cases used to double within 3 days. Now the case it has slowed down to 6.2 days, which implies that the lockdown is a success. Now the other data which is being given here is also India has registered an average growth factor of 1.2%, which since April 1 compared to 2.1% in the 2 weeks preceding. That is, earlier the growth rate of the COVID-19 cases were 2.1%. Now it has reduced to 1.2%. Thus, the India's government is able to successfully contain the COVID-19 cases to an extent. Also, the health ministry also mentions that 19 states or UTs, which the states and the UTs are given in the bracket. These states and UTs have shown a lower rate of increase to some extent. So, almost 19 states were also able to lower the rate. So, this implies that the decision to carry on the lockdown, it was a right decision. Coming to the next article. So before going to the next article, I want you guys to focus on this prelims question. Just pause the video for a second, read the question and try to attempt it by yourself before discussing the question. Now coming to the relevant article related to that question. RBI to pump in 1 lakh crore rupees. So due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the RBI has decided to increase the liquidity in the market by pumping in so much money into the market. So coming to the news, the RBI on Friday announced a slew of liquidity measures to ease the financial stress and increase the credit flows. So out of this 1 lakh crore, 50,000 crore is exclusively for NBFCs. What are NBFCs? Non-banking financial companies. And the remaining 50,000 rupees, the RBI will extend the remaining 50,000 crore to refinancing agencies like NABARD, SEDBI and National Housing Bank. So what happens is when RBI gives money to these institutions, it will increase the liquidity in the market. Also, another measure is that the RBI also said it has increased the ways and means advances limits of the states by 60%. So what is this ways and means advances? So this is an important prelims concept which we'll be discussing in the next slide. That is ways and means advances. It is a mechanism used by the RBI under its credit policy to provide money to states to help them tide over temporary mismatches in the cash flow. So in short, ways and means advances means the money given by the RBI to the states to manage their cash flow. And this is guided under section 17 bracket 5 of the RBI Act 1934. So ways and means advances are mentioned in the RBI Act 1934. And the state should repay it back within 3 months from the date of making that advance. So just remember these three statements about ways and means advances. This will be important for prelims. Coming back to the article. So here the RBI said that it has increased the ways and means advances limits of state by 60%. That means that RBI will be giving more money to the states, which will help the states in fighting the COVID crisis. As simple as that. Now, coming to the next measure. Also, not a measure, the RBI governor is telling that the inflation rate has been declining because you know that due to the COVID-19 crisis, there is a lack of demand in the market. Due to the lack of demand in the market, the prices will fall. When the prices fall, the inflation declines. So, which is on the expected lines. The continuation of this article here. So here you can see that the prices of many things have reduced, like PDS, kerosene, all those things have reduced, and even LPG prices have been reduced. Now, another measure which is taken by the RBI is the central bank has also reduced the reverse repo rate while keeping the repo rate unchanged by 25 basis points to 3.5%. 25 basis point means like 0.25%. So, why did the central bank, the RBI has reduced the reverse repo rate? Because it was to discourage banks from parking their excess liquidity with the RBI at the reverse repo rate. What is reverse repo rate? Let's just get a clarity about the topic of reverse repo rate and then come back to the article again. So as we all know, repo rate is the rate at which central bank of a country lends money to commercial banks in the event of any shortfall of funds. So here the money flows from the RBI to banks and banks will pay interest to the RBI. Coming to reverse repo rate, it is the opposite of repo rate. Reverse repo rate is when the RBI borrows money from the banks when there is excess liquidity in the market. So here banks will deposit their money in the RBI and RBI will pay interest to the banks. So what the banks will do to get interest, they will try to park their money in the RBI so that the RBI will pay them interest. So this will reduce the liquidity in the market because banks are not having money to lend to the market. Instead, they are parking their money in the RBI. Now, what happens when the reverse repo rate is reduced? When the reverse repo rate is reduced, the banks will get less interest rate from the RBI. Since the bank is getting less interest rate from the RBI, it finds it it finds it like it is disincentivized to park their money in the RBI. So the banks will lend more to the market, thereby increasing the liquidity in the market. So this is the logic behind the move of this. The central bank has reduced the it is reverse repo rate, okay, reverse repo rate by 25 basis points to 3.5%. So these are some of the slew of measures taken by the RBI to improve liquidity in the market. So I hope you understood this. Coming to the third topic, this is in the expected lines. Wuhan admits to errors, hikes stalled by 50%. As we all know, there were already doubts regarding the reliability of the data given by China regarding their coronavirus affected cases as well as the death toll. Now, since the global pressure is increasing, the China has admitted that the death rates were much more than what they have already announced and they have hiked the toll by 50%. Coming to the article, China's coronavirus ground zero city of Wuhan on Friday admitted missteps in tallying its death toll as it abruptly raised the count by 50% following growing world doubts over Chinese transparency. So, authorities in Wuhan initially tried to cover up the outbreak, punishing doctors who raised the alarm online in December. So initially, the China tried to cover up the pandemic, the numbers. Now, due to international pressure, they are coming up with more and more accurate numbers. We don't know whether this is accurate or more deaths have happened actually. So the change also pushes the nationwide death toll up by nearly 39% to 4,632 deaths. But still, the death toll in China, which has a population of 1.4 billion people, it remains well below the number of fatalities in small nations such as Italy and Spain. We don't know whether this is because of the cover up of data by the Chinese authorities. Let's wait and watch in the coming days. Sorry, I have forgot to discuss the previous question, which is related to the previous article. Let's go back to the question. So, practice question. Consider the following about reverse repo rate. First statement, it is the rate at which RBI lends money to the banks. Second statement, a reduction in the reverse repo rate increases the liquidity in the market. Which of the above statements are correct? Coming to the first statement, we all know that it is the rate at which RBI borrows money from the banks. We are talking about reverse repo rate. Ensure that you very clearly analyze what is asked in the question. The question is about reverse repo rate. It is the rate at which RBI borrows money from the banks, right? So the first statement is wrong. In this way, we'll be able to eliminate option A and we'll be able to eliminate option C. Now coming to the second statement, a reduction in the reverse repo rate increases liquidity in the market, which is true as we already mentioned in the article. We said that the RBI has reduced the reverse repo rate to increase liquidity in the market. Thus, the second statement is correct. So the answer will be option B, 2 only. Now coming to the last article of today. So this is a main article here, a virus, social democracy and dividends for Kerala. So this article is based on how Kerala was able to successfully contain the virus, how the social democracy which is prevalent in the state of Kerala has helped the state of Kerala to fight the virus in a better manner. Now let us go to the article. Though Kerala was the first state with a recorded case of coronavirus and once led the country in active cases, it now ranks 10th of all states and total number of active cases has been declining for over a week and now below the number of recovered cases. Here, the article is telling about two things. It is telling that Kerala was the first state to record the coronavirus in India and it had the most number of active cases at one point of time. But now Kerala is able to come down to the 10th position by reducing the number of cases, and even the active cases have reduced than the recovered cases. So the people who are recovering the coronavirus pandemic are more than the active number of cases in the state. This is a very important fact given the Kerala's population density, which is one of the very highest in the state, in the country, and deep connections to the global economy. We know that Kerala has sizable amount of diaspora throughout the world, and its high international mobility of its citizens. It was primed to be a hotspot. Yet, the state is able to flatten the curve. Also, it was able to roll out a comprehensive package of 20,000 crore even before the country have declared a lockdown. So even before the lockdown started, Kerala has declared a 20,000 crore package. So this shows the proactiveness of the state. Now, the article is telling that the current crisis underscores the comparative advantages of social democracy. So we all know about different types of democracy: political democracy, social democracy, uh, economic democracy. So we all know that political democracy in the constitution comes under fundamental rights, and the social and economical democracy, it is coming under the DPSP. So the article says that Kerala is strong in social democracy. Why it is strong in social democracy? The reasons are mentioned below. In Kerala, there have been history of popular mobilization. For example, the temple entry movements in the 1930s, the peasants and workers movement in the 1950s and 1960s, the mass literacy movement in the 1980s, the Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad led movement for people's decentralized planning in the 1990s, and most recently various gender and environmental movements. So Kerala has a history of social movements. So these social movements have strengthened the social democracy of the state. That is one reason. Second, Kerala emphasizes on right-based welfare. and it is supported by a vibrant and organized civil society. In Kerala, the civil society is very strong. You might have heard about the SHGs such as the Kudumbashri and other civils, and even the media activism is very high in the state. So, this is also another reason why the social democracy in the state is very high. Now, the third reason is regardless of the party in power, the party has to deliver public services and constantly expand the social safety net. And in this comes the public health system. It became one of the best in the country. So, due to the above reasons, due to a vibrant civil society and the pressure on the political parties to expand the social security net, the public healthcare system has become excellent in the state. Also, due to pressure, due to these pressures, Kerala was able to empower the local government of the state. This is very important. The local government of the state of Kerala is one of the most powerful in the entire country. So all these have helped improve the social democracy in the state. Now coming to the fight against the corona. From the moment of the first reported case in Kerala, the Chief Minister convened a state response team that coordinated 18 different functional teams, and they held daily press conferences and communicated constantly with the public. This is very important. The public should be made aware, the public should be given information about the situation in the country, in the state, or in the country in general, so that the public doesn't panic and they become more proactive. So this is very important. Now coming to the second uh, effort, the government was able to leverage a broad and dense civil society. uh, I'm sorry, the healthcare system. As we already seen, the healthcare system is very strong in the state. So the Kerala government was able to use the robust healthcare system to fight the corona pandemic, which has helped the state. We all know that in countries like US and all, it's mostly private healthcare system, but that didn't help countries like US to fight the corona pandemic because there was a lack of coordination. But here, the robust public healthcare system has helped the government to fight the corona pandemic. Now, third, the government actively activated an already highly mobilized civil society. The government took the help of the civil society, which was very active in the state. For example, Kudumbashri. Also, as the cases multiplied, the government called on 2 lakh volunteers from the civil society to go door to door, identify those at risk and those in need. So they helped in organizing the contact tracing, and even they delivered 3 lakh meals a day through Kudumbasri community kitchens. So the civil society has actively supported the government. So here we can see a very important difference. When the world is going through an authoritarian regime during this corona pandemic, the government is trying to gain more and more powers to itself. Here you can see that the government is able to decentralize itself. It is able to actively give powers to civil society to fight the corona pandemic. Now the most important point is the local governments of Kerala and its empowerment has clearly paid off in the fight against corona pandemic. See, we know that whatever the government does, if it doesn't reach the last mile connectivity, if the last mile connectivity is weak, then the policies and the programs are usually unsuccessful. But here, the strong local governments have enabled the fight against corona pandemic to be a success. So this is also another example of the decentralization of power and social democracy. So this article is very important. Here you can find many examples where decentralization of power, more social democracy, more power to the citizens, more public healthcare systems, how it can effectively fight the coronavirus pandemic. So that's all for today. Please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon for instant updates. I hope you like the videos. Have a good day. Thank you.